Good evening. I'm Tarek Patel.
And I'm Randy Rosenblum. I don't have to hide my face. And this is SoCal Prep Report. You know, Tarek came out of hiding this weekend. He went to Dodger Stadium to cover the baseball championships, and this is how his morning started. Let's check it out.
Good morning from downtown Los Angeles, reporting live. About a stone's throw away from Dodger Stadium. We've got City Section Baseball Championships going on. Just watching my six here. It can get a little sketchy. But before we get to Dodger Stadium, good old Chavez Ravine for these two championship games. Division I at 10 a.m., Open Division at 1 o'clock. Had to get some breakfast burritos. Nick's Cafe. Had to do it. It's so close. And then we have a celebrity burrito reviewer from Dodger Stadium today. Now, I won't go quite yet into what he likes in his burritos, but nevertheless, this man is legend. And right now, I got the puffer jacket with a short sleeve polo. Anything could happen today, boys. All right, Randy.
Right.
A breakfast burrito from Nick's. Just grab it like it is. You don't need to unravel it. Oh my God, you're already breaking code.
Not even sure how to open this right now.
You got bacon, cheese, potato, and eggs.
That's it.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing else.
Go ahead, take a stab.
It's awfully. I don't even know if I'm going to eat this thing. Potatoes, very good.
Okay, kind of roasted, got a little crisp on there.
Yeah, and they come to the forefront immediately.
Wow.
Do I get another bite?
Absolutely.
Right here.
Yes.
So you're the special.
Yeah, because this is going to be, yeah. And you're going to grade it out of 10. And any comments, let her rip.
Bacon, good. I'd say a 7.5.
Wow, not
very
bad.
Very solid.
Is it a little dry? Could it use a little bit of something
Maybe
in there?
For the common individual, but for me, this is the way I like it. I'm dull, and I like things dull.
Lift it up, and let's take a look inside real quick. Yeah, there we go. Nick's Cafe, 7.5, Randy Rosenblum.
You got it.
Live from Dodger Stadium.
I am dull and not great at reviewing burritos, I guess, but Tarek, your thoughts about our little segment there.
For your breakfast burrito review debut, I thought you did very, very well.
Okay.
Good. I like that you mentioned the potatoes. They come to the forefront. That was funny. You talked about the size of the burrito. That's good information. The only thing we didn't talk about, and for good reason, is because that burrito was $18. So breakfast burritos shouldn't be up near the $20 mark. I'm thinking more like anywhere between $8 to maybe even $11 or $12, depending on where you are. But you liked it, and that's all that matters.
Well, the other thing that happened after eating the burrito, I didn't have any hot dogs at the
Yeah,
press
that's
box.
true. It puts you out.
I was so filled up. It was a lot of food. It was good, 7.5, but he's going to do the rest of the reviews. I'm out of that business. I'm not out of the high school prep baseball business because right after we put that big burrito down, we did witness a couple outstanding high school baseball championship games. Let's start with the Open Division. El Camino Real wins its 10th city title. It was not easy over a very good Venice team, 2-0. And in fact, Venice was the #1 seed here. El Camino came in as the #2 seed, but pitching was the difference.
Pitching usually is the difference at Dodger Stadium, and it was the case for El Camino Real. And also, I just think it came to a head in a point that Venice had a dramatic extra inning victory in the semifinals over Silmar, and maybe sometimes those high emotions are hard to deal with and kind of put to the side when you're focusing on a big game like Dodger Stadium. So we got the celebration here from ECR, a nice 6-3 here to win the thing, and Josh Leinert grabs another city title.
Yeah, that's 5 for Leinert. Where do you put him in the pantheon of great coaches in the LA City section? 5 Open Division titles or top level championship, highest division for Leinert.
Yeah, and the program has 10 now, but they've been knocking on that door for quite some time. They had 9. I think they got their 9th in 2018, I believe is the number, maybe 2016. Either way, they had gotten to the finals a couple times to try and get that 10th and couldn't do it. They finally break through. All that being said, to answer your question, he's got to be in that top 3, top 5 city baseball coaches of all time. He's got the championships to back it up.
Yeah, I always think of Mike Mayo, who really got it going at El Camino. He won a number of them. Manny Alvarado at Kennedy High School had some terrific teams. And, of course, Tom Museborn at Chatsworth. They're the other team with 10 titles. I think Museborn has 6 championships. He might be the gold standard still, but Leinart's really coming on.
Yeah, I would say Museborn probably is number one because at Chatsworth, I believe they won at least one, if not, did they win 2 national titles? I know they have at least one, and it sounds like maybe they have 2, you know, MLB guys coming out of the program. They were today's Corona High School back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, well, they had Dominguez and Moustakas, who led them to well over a 50-game winning streak, which is the greatest in LA City section history. Do want to mention Devin Goner, the pitcher. He got stronger and stronger as that game went on. He pitched the shutout for ECR, 3-hitter, goes the distance. Senior was impressive.
Yeah, and I think, listen, let's call it what it is. Before the game started, you thought Venice was going to win 7-3, and nothing like that transpired. Just want to get that on the record.
That's a dig.
Yeah, it is a dig. But look, I think you know, and we got to give credit to our guy Eric Sonheimer at the LA Times. He said, hey, this game is going to be low scoring, and it's going to come down to pitching. And he was right, and ECR showed that 2-0 shutout. And I wrote this in my report. I think it's only the 2nd shutout ever in the Open Division era, and it might only be the 3rd shutout in the highest division of the City Section Baseball Finals since 2009. So you don't see a lot of shutouts in the City Final at Dodger Stadium. We saw one on Saturday.
Yeah, Devin really matured over the last couple of years as a pitcher for ECR. And again, that's 10 city titles, the same as Chatsworth, the most ever. All right, in the D1 game, remember it's Open Division D1 in the city section. This was a terrific game. Carson rallying with 3 in the final frame to knock off top-seeded Banning 3-1. What's interesting here, these are Marine League rivals. During the regular season, Banning was the stronger team and won the league. Carson's start of the year, and Tarek, to me, this is one of our great stories, and I know you love stories in prep sports. Carson's start of the year, 0-5, 1-9.
Yeah, and it didn't come without a little bit of drama. Banning actually had a 1-run lead, and then Carson put together a big inning. And so this was a play at the plate. If we could actually play it back one more time, just so we can get really... So here's this play at the plate. Chris Sinclair called safe here. Man, and then we get this freeze frame. Appreciate the production on this to kind of let us see it one more time. Man, it looks like he's out. But what's a good championship game without a little bit of drama? And I'm not even knocking the ump there. That's a bang-bang play. He calls him safe. Carson ends up winning 2-1.
And, of course, in high school sports, there's no replay, so you can't really blame the umpire, and it was really close. And, again, Carson really deserved to win this game. They battled. They seemed comfortable at Dodger Stadium. Of the 4 teams we saw there this weekend, I thought they were the most comfortable.
Yeah, they did look to be comfortable. But I'll say ECR looked pretty comfortable to me. And I don't know if you noticed this, but when I was watching the Division I game and the Open game, you know, the city doesn't always boast the best skill, but there was a quality difference. I felt like that Open Division, the infield was a little bit crisper, the balls were thrown a little harder, so they looked comfortable to me compared to the Division I game.
Another great story about Carson is Anthony Dorado, the guy that pitched the final game to win the title. He had a shoulder issue, didn't pitch during the playoffs. So here's this team that was the underdog all year, started with a poor record, and they throw a pitcher who was injured throughout the entire tournament until this game.
Yeah, and here's that final out, and the celebration ensues. Listen, I don't know. The Southern Section has all the talent, but Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State, where the finals are going to be this year for the Southern Section, pale in comparison to winning a championship at Chavez Ravine. So kudos to the city for keeping it going, and kudos to ECR and Carson for winning titles.
And kudos to Michael Kanipo Aguirre, the coach at Carson. That is some job he pulled off with this team.
And that is some long last name that you were able to remember. Nicely done.
Michael Kanipo Aguirre. Congratulations.
No, I mean, he's new. He's only like a year or two in, right?
Yeah,
fantastic job. Fantastic job.
All right, let's talk about the other side, Banning. Their catcher, and I got his name right here, Matt Gonzalez, was sensational in the championship game. And the catching's a little bit different at Dodger Stadium because if it gets by you, the ball can keep rolling, runners can go around the base paths.
Yeah, he was impressive, and I think early on, I'm thinking, man, Banning's going to win this thing because Carson kept shooting themselves in the foot. Now, Matt Gonzalez had something to do with that, throwing batters out, weird base running, from Carson. It's like, man, they're shooting themselves in the foot, but not Matt Dominguez. Matt Gonzalez had something to do with that. So a bright spot despite coming up short that day.
But you're right about Matt Dominguez. He hit back-to-back homers in championship games his junior and senior year while at Chatsworth.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time ago. But this Matt did pretty well as well. All right, let's talk about a couple other championship games. We'll quickly go through these scores. D2, Port of LA over Chavez. These are really nice programs in the LA City section at that level. The number 7 seed, Port of LA, gets the crown.
Hey, sometimes it's just about playing the best ball at the right time, and Port of LA did that.
University hammers Jefferson. This is number 1 against number 2. Jefferson was number 1, but they got taken to the woodshed here big time, 8-1. Uni wins the title with a 15-15 record. And in my comment here, the Democrats. Just another loss in the final. In the election year, the Democrats go down.
This show just got even better. No, you know what I will say about Uni? They're in West Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken, off Wilshire and kind of the Santa Monica area. One of the schools kind of impacted by the Palisades fire, stone's throw away, so to speak. And so kind of shuffling with fields and being in that league. So kudos to them for sticking through what I think they were impacted. Some of their neighborhoods were impacted by those fires. So what a great way to end the year.
Really was. All right, let's move ahead to the Southern section. We're going to start with the quarterfinals. We didn't have the results for you last week on the quarter, so we're going to take you all the way through the quarters and the semis. Corona 2-0 over Norco. They played Norco 4 times and outscored them 20-0.
Yeah, anytime you come up against a league foe, it can get a little dicey, but clearly Corona had it dialed in.
St. John Bosco by 4-3 over Villa Park. This was a terrific game in 9 innings, and Bosco moves on. Santa Margarita, too good for Los Alamitos, but another close game. And Crespi, maybe the best game in the quarters, 3-2 over Miracosta, snapping the Mustangs' 26-game winning streak.
Yeah, that was a tight one. I was watching that one on NFHS, and it went into extras, and Miracosta, like you said, 26-game winning streak, clearly playing their best ball. And I know there was a pop-up. I believe it was Nate Lopez from Crespi, if I remember, my memory serves me correctly, and it goes to shallow left field, and ball got kind of lost. It drops, and that was the game-winning run. So Crespi advanced to the semifinals.
Let's talk about those semifinals, and let's talk about Crespi. They had to play a very good Trinity League team, and I guess this is a really disappointing game for the Celts. They lose 12-0. The Celts, the number 2 seed, lose to Santa Margarita big out of the Trinity League.
Yeah, no one was expecting that. Again, it's 2 good teams, but man, 12-0. I want to say they put 8, 9, 10 runs up in like 1 inning. So man, the Celts bow out in a really, really bad tasting way. I know Mike Glendenning was not thrilled about that.
St. John Bosco wins the Heisman Award. Their pitcher Heisman shuts out Corona. The number 1 team in the country is eliminated 2-0. And maybe the bigger story is that Seth Hernandez, who had never lost a high school game pitching, he was 18-0, goes down. He pitched well. He only allowed 2 runs, but he loses.
Yeah, just needed a little run support. And, of course, St. John Bosco. That's the beauty. I mean, you could argue it's not great, and I think we might do that a little later. But that's the beauty of these high school baseball playoffs, especially in the Southern section. There's so much talent, even in the subsequent divisions, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on. It's just any given day. Someone's feeling it from the bump, or you can't get a hit, and you could go down. That's that Corona team, the national champions from last year, the CIF Southern Section Division 1 champions from last year. Done.
Trevor Heisman's the guy. He's the pitcher that got it done for Bosco. All right, what about Santa Margarita and St. John Bosco? They played 3 times during the regular season in the Trinity League. Bosco won the league title and won 2 out of 3 from Santa Margarita.
It's going to be an all Trinity League Division 1 final down in Orange County at Cal State Fullerton Friday at 7 o'clock. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm a little bummed, if I'm being honest. I think Corona not being in it and not being able to see those guys that are probably going to get drafted this year, Ebel, Murphy, and Hernandez, play, loses its luster a little bit. But for Orange County and the Trinity League neighborhoods per se, it's an awesome game, so kudos.
I have another awesome game for you in the Southern section, D2 Championship. Let's start with the semis to set up that final for you. How about West Ranch getting by Etiwanda 8-7? Diaz got the key hit late to pull it out, and they had to rally. They were down late.
This is a team that actually had, if I'm not mistaken, in the second round and the quarterfinals had 2 no-hitters, a combined no-hitter in the second round and a quarterfinal victory by 1 pitcher no-hitter. So, I mean, clearly feeling it, and then the bats came alive in the semifinal to get by Etiwanda, which I believe was the number 2 seed in the division.
Mater Dei over Fountain Valley 5-4, and here's another Trinity League team going to the finals, and they rallied late as well.
Yeah, I mean, it took 2 comeback performances or 2 rallies, as you said, to get to the final, and that's what it takes sometimes. I think once the postseason has concluded up until the finals, you can't depend on anything. It's really almost a new life. It's a survive and advance thing here, high school baseball, for sure.
And that's the topic for this week's Point Counterpoint. Our topic, should the playoffs in the highest division, that would be D1 in the Southern Section Baseball, and the Open Division, which has 8 teams in the City Section, go to a best 2 out of 3, not just one and done. Tarek, you're up. What do you think?
I like any format that can try and provide a body of work. For example, in the Southern Section basketball playoffs, they have the Open Division. You play multiple games, and you're judged on the games you play, who will advance. That's just for the top division. I think the same thing should happen for baseball in the Open Division City and the Southern Section Division I playoffs. You might have to narrow down the teams. I don't think you can do a team of 30, a field of 32. There's not enough time in the calendar. But if you can get it down to 8, maybe 16 teams, best 2 out of 3, I think you'll find a lot of coaches will prefer that.
I like one and done, and here's why. It's one and done. It's the NCAA basketball tournament all over again. You lose, you're out. Look at Corona, best team in the country, but they have to prove it in a one and done scenario, and they had to prove it on the road, and they got beat, and thus they're out. Keep it the way it is. The excitement of one and done is awesome. Now here's the other factor. If you're in the LA City section and you play your championship baseball game at Dodger Stadium, how do you play 2 out of 3 there? You cannot schedule it. Do you have the, if necessary, 3rd game at Dodger Stadium? Is that the way you do? If it goes to 3, you're going to play it there? Do you play game 1 there out of the 2 out of 3? I don't know how you would work that. I love one and done. I think that's the way to go. It's worked for a very long time, so why fiddle with something that works? But you think they're going to go to 2 out of 3 down the road.
I do believe they're going to do 2 out of 3 because they do it in soccer. So the Division I boys Southern Section, the Division I boys soccer playoffs are like how they do the Champions League. They play 2 legs. So, and then they take an aggregate of the score. So if they can find a way to play 2 soccer games every round, but it's only 8 teams, baseball can certainly play 3 games in a week, no problem.
Let's turn our attention to softball. City Section semifinals are in the book. We'll start with Granada Hills and Venice. This was supposed to be a decent game.
No. It was
Granada
not.
by 19-0. That's ridiculous.
You know, I've seen these scores before from Granada, and they always fall short in the city finals. And I know we're going to probably get to that here in a second. So good for them, 19-0, fantastic. But all right, ladies, let's go. We got to win the city final now.
Well, now they're going to get an opportunity to play Carson after Carson beat San Pedro 11-1. This is another one of those shocking results. Pedro beat Carson both times during the regular season, one of the 2 times handily. So to lose 11-1, maybe not getting upset by Carson because they are league rivals, but 11-1?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the 19-0 is shocking because of the discrepancy, but I think no one's surprised that Granada won. But the Carson-San Pedro, you know, was more of a toss-up. And then for it to be, I'm seeing a 10-run difference. I don't know. Was it done in 5 innings or 6 innings?
6.
Yeah, so there was a mercy rule, basically. So, yeah, that's it's not so much that those teams won, but how they won. That was shocking.
Yeah, 2 mercy rule games. So now we have the championship game. They've met the last couple of years. Carson's won both times in dramatic fashion over Granada Hills. Mormon is still around. Addison Mormon, the pitcher, She's a good one for Granada. She pitched 5 innings in the semis. But can they get by the Colts? Remember, 2 years ago, they were trailing 10-0. Granada scored 10 in the last frame to tie it and still lost it in extra frames.
Man, those Highlanders, a lot of pain in those losses. But I think this is the year. I think this is the year they get over the hump. There's almost too much experience, and I would even say even too much pain to deal with another loss. I think they get over it. The Highlanders win the Open Division City Softball Championship.
Could happen, but it's another Pickett game. And Carson emotionally has that advantage.
No,
they beat him the last 2
Yeah, that's
times.
true. That's true.
So I think it'll be a very good game, and that's not a great prediction. It should be sensational. Let's turn our attention to the CIF Southern Section softball. The semifinals, Norco, the #1 team around over Ayala. They won this game by 5 runs. Ashley Duran, 3 hits, a couple RBIs. Norco's for real.
Yeah, when have they not been for real? I know that I wouldn't even say they've ever been down. They just haven't won the whole thing here in consecutive years like they usually do. But for them to be back on top, not surprising, and I would expect to be the favorite to win the finals.
Here's the problem for everyone in the Southern Section. Norco's pitcher is a sophomore, Carol Williams. She's 16-0. And she's just a 10th grader.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the case for softball, too. I always find that the prodigies, the best players, are underclassmen. They're just so good early, and then they dominate their way through graduation. So not surprising, not surprising.
Norco will play El Medina, which knocked off Temescal Canyon big. Huge advantage there. Parker Mays with a homer. That was her 6th. Caitlin Galasso, who is really good, has 12 homers as well for El Medina.
Golazo? No, I'm kidding. That's fantastic. I mean, listen, so it's going to be a pitcher's duel.
Maybe not. I think we're going to have some power there.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to see some home runs.
Okay.
Although Carol Williams is good. So
okay.
we're going to have
I always feel like, man, we all know, softball, it's all about the pitcher. I mean, it really is.
Well, Carol Williams is that great 10th grader. But here's the kicker. They played in a tournament earlier this year. El Medina 6. Norco 5.
Ooh. Yeah, a little edge there for a final, a little gamesmanship. Well, that'll be a fun game to keep an eye on.
And I don't know how they really seeded this tournament. Norco is #1. El Medina is ranked 11th, and they had a win over the top team around. But who knows?
Well, it's possible that with the computer rankings, they just had a couple bad losses.
That's probably true.
So maybe there's a little, like Norco probably more consistent at bringing it every night, so to speak, where El Medina maybe has faltered. And you never know. Sometimes, Randy, they take these early losses, and then they have kids that become eligible after transferring. Maybe they've got some SOPs that are eligible, and now they're better.
Some city track and field notes. They had their city championships. So the 100 and 200 meter final was won by a guy who's a great football player. We haven't seen that before, right? We saw it all the time in the Southern Section. Antrell Harris of Birmingham winning the 100 and the 200.
Yeah, Antrell Harris, I think, was a standout. And then if I'm not mistaken, God, I hope I don't butcher this, but a standout basketball player at Birmingham, first team All-Valley, West Valley, Mandel Anthony, I believe won the long jump for Birmingham. So it's nice to see city champions coming out of Birmingham that play other sports.
Christina Gray of Carson's a tremendous sprinter. She won the 100 and the 200 on the distaff side. Carson had won the girls' city title 9 years in a row. That's done now. Granada Hills wins the girls and the boys' title.
Yeah, not surprising. Let's not forget. Remember when was it Stanley? I can't think of his name right now. Daryl Stanley? No. Dijon Stanley.
Dijon Stanley.
I mean, that the Granada track and field program was so dominant that year. It's not surprising that they won again, but it was so dominant. They went and won the state championship. Remember that, Randy?
Yep.
You don't remember?
I do. I remember. I wouldn't lie to
you. You think he'd remember, man?
Rodney Sermons is another great sprinter out of the Southern Section. He's one of their sprint champions in their various divisions. He's a football player and a very good one at Rancho Cucamonga. He's declassifying. His dad was a great star at USC. He's going to USC early. He'll play next year as a defensive back. He's a slot back on offense as well. But as a DB, he's got a shot to see some playing time.
Yeah, it just adds to the great recruiting class Lincoln Raleigh has put together, which is the 2026 recruiting class, which is next year, is #1 in the country. But hey, nothing wrong with adding a 2025 and to reclassify and think you're ready for college. Good for him. His dad played at USC, as you mentioned, so seems like a good fit.
I think his dad ran for over 800 yards in 1 year. It was terrific running back. So it's no shock that Rodney's going to Southern California to play for the Trojans. Here's the story I want to talk about. I talked to this kid this week, Grant Leary. He's a golfer at Crespi. Great kid, well-spoken. He shoots 66 and wins the CIF individual championship. I think on the links, he could even beat Tarek.
He can definitely beat me. And I'll tell you right now, it will have already been concluded by the time this airs. But I think he's in the running for the state championship, too, because he competed this week in the regional
and did well
playoffs. So, and he was doing well through about half the round. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's a great kid. He's also a photographer. You know what's interesting? I wonder how he felt. He shoots the baseball team. He goes out and takes pictures for the yearbook for the baseball team. I wonder if he was at the Crespi game when they got beat.
I'm sure. No, he was. I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. But that's another standout golfer who I was a little surprised I thought would be in the mix was the Oaks Christian golfer Max Emberson, who's supposed to be like he could probably be a pro one day, but he fell short this year.
Speaking of pros, let's turn our attention to pro baseball and take a look at a couple guys who are doing great as alumnuses from the Southern section that are getting it done in MLB. Let's start with Max Fried of the Yankees, the lefty from Harvard Westlake. He's 7-0, and right now the Dodgers wish they signed him.
It's another reason why Southern California is a hotbed for athletics, especially at the prep level, pros, in every sport. I mean, we're talking. I remember when I always bring up this. Ben Halleck was at Harvard Westlake boys water polo, and he was on the Rio Olympics team as a high schooler. So it's just an example of how talented this area is.
How talented is this area? Well, let me give you a Max Fried quick story. I'm calling the game. Max Fried's pitching for Harvard Westlake against Loyola. Everyone's talking about it. He's going to be this unbelievable draft pick. Nobody can hit him. He got bombed. He got knocked out in the fourth inning. Loyola won the game 7-6.
Hey, man, sometimes, you know what they say, you win some, you lose some. And at the end of the day, they are high school kids. So they're not pros yet, but they end up being pros.
Yeah, but you could see the potential.
Sure.
And all the scouts were talking about Fried. And so, hey, that happens. And another Harvard Westlake alumnus, how about Pete Crow
Oh, man,
Armstrong?
he's playing so
Now,
well.
Again, I saw him. I called a game or two of his.
He was fantastic.
And he was a great defensive center fielder, unquestioned MLB center fielder, even at Harvard Westlake. There was some question how good a hitter he would be. Forget it. He's hitting in the high 200s. He has 15 home runs, 50 RBIs, 14 steals. The guy's been unbelievable this year for the Cubs.
I have a PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong story. When I was at the Los Angeles Daily News as a junior, he was our Daily News Player of the Year. And I went to go interview him. We got some photos, did a whole thing. And I go, hey, man, talk to me about your youth, baseball. What was that like? He goes, you know, it's so funny. When in our backyard, we have ivy on our wall. And so as a kid, I always thought about hitting home runs at Wrigley Field over the ivy wall. I said, oh, that's so great. And lo and behold, now he's on the Chicago Cubs. You could go right now, look up Daily News, Pete Crow Armstrong, Player of the Year, hit enter, and the lead of the story is Pete Crow Armstrong dreaming he could play in the MLB, hitting home runs over the Ivy League wall at Wrigley Field.
You got to bring that. I got to see that.
And now he plays for the Cubs. Pretty prophetic.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and he's doing it. He's hitting it over the ivy.
And just playing center field. Probably runs into the ivy all the time, catching balls and things like that.
Last topic is opt-outs. You're probably saying, what's an opt-out? Well, they have these baseball regionals coming up. They have these softball playoffs regionals coming up. And a lot of schools are going to say, I ain't going. What do you think of all these opt-outs? Because I don't know how good these fields are going to be.
Yeah, no, it's the CIF state and the CIF State Association is going to scratch their heads. The only way to fix this is by creating state championships for baseball and softball. Volleyball's got them, track has them. You got to add them. Golf has them. Swimming has them. So baseball and softball need to be added. That's what's happening. It's so late in the year. Everyone's kind of got senioritis. Everyone's got better stuff to do. You play your section championship, and then the regionals, there's no state championship. So I'm out, and then they bow out.
I can see it for a team like Carson. Their baseball team's not going to go. They just had the ultimate win at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah,
they were
that
the
too.
underdog. Why would they want to come back?
And
all they have to do is is lose, not win.
Yeah. And there's almost, I would even argue there's nothing to gain because all you're doing is winning the Southern California regional title. There's no state championship to win. So, man, get your summer going. Some of these kids want to get to like showcases and things because they're trying to go to college still. So there's other things out there that they feel are more important, and I don't blame them.
Lots of championships this weekend. We're going to talk about all those next Thursday night, live at 9 o'clock, right here on SoCal Prep Report. Right now, Tarek Fatal again is going to show off his arm because that's how we close the show as he tosses the paper. For Tarek, I'm Randy. We'll see you next week right here on SoCal Prep Report.
This is like that like when Jeter got it and then had pretty close. I think I've hit the camera the last 2 weeks, but today I missed.